that's not it. Where is, I'm apparently missing a camera. Hold on. I mean, I'm here. Actually, that's one of my spiders, so that came up, but I am missing, what is happening? Hold on. This is not making any sense. I had this fixed just a moment ago. There we go. Yeah, last minute finding all kinds of, my new spider, by the way. I found him, I don't know. She was inside my screen of my bedroom window this morning, so, you know, obviously wants to live with me. So, I want to see. Look how cute. She's the dinkiest, like, you can't even see. It's this little speck, look, the size of an ant. That is, how adorable. Look at that face. Anyway, okay. Let's go ahead and get that off before I freak people out. Okay, so French fry. No one wants to listen. Stop. Anyway, tonight we are going to be going over your artwork. Let me go ahead and pull some of this up because it's kind of weird. Pull up the first one. I am going over Patreon members' artwork. So if we are probably full for tonight, so if you are a Patreon member or you're thinking about becoming a Patreon member so that you can have your work critiqued, we will be able to do that more in the future. I'm trying to do them about once a month. Of course, when I made that change is when I broke my foot and then everything got screwed up. But hopefully we're back to doing this regularly, and we're all good. So the advice that I'm giving to you tonight should never make you feel bad about yourself or your work. This is just advice I would give to my own students. Take it, leave it, doesn't matter to me. Would you stop? Come here, I'll give you a pistachio if you stop talking. You're just chattering away. Here, have pistachio. There you go. Yes, eat it on my tablet because that's exactly where I want crumbs. Life with birds. Anyway. And for those of you, your work is not being critiqued, this should actually help you and give you a lot of just tips that you can apply to your own work, whether it be about color, shading, detail. We've just got all kinds of stuff we're going to talk about. But okay, I think that's it. Again, the work that I'm going through tonight are from members over at patreon.com/Lachri. If you are a member there, you get access to every single one of my longer tutorials. I have over 400 videos because I've been uploading over there since, the end of 2014? There's a lot of content. So I've been trying to make them more, they're easier to follow along as I kept going. So, you know, the more recent ones I think are more complete and better, but there you go. There's a lot that will keep you busy for a very long time. So let's move on. Tonight, the first submission comes from, whoops, I just enlarged. Also, if you were here last week and I was constantly struggling because I didn't have my pen on my Wacom tablet set up right, yeah, I still don't. It didn't get done this week. So we'll be complaining a lot about all the things that are not currently set up right on the new computer. Okay, so the first one comes from Arts with Ryan, who said, I've drawn this using Marco Renoir colored pencils on 100-pound Fabriano Academia drawing paper. I need to check that out. He said that I really should try this paper. It's amazing. I may need to. My goal is realism. The background is inspired by one of the scenes in a Tarzan Jungle Book. Okay. So let's take a look. I'm actually going to crop the white of the paper off just because it's taking up a lot of screen. Actually, we'll just shrink it down this way. Taking up valuable screen. Yeah, no, I'm going to crop it. That'll make my life easier. French fry. No one wants to listen. We know you're excited that you're going to go see your friend in a few minutes. But it's not time yet. You've got like a half an hour. He does this every single night at about an hour or so. He usually goes in about 8:30 to see his friend Nugget. And he spends the hour leading up to it telling me he wants to go now. Huh. Boop. Okay. So let's get these set up. It's a little bit harder to, I'm going to end up cropping part of the background out, so we'll go through that. Let's start with tips on the background. The only thing that stands out to me on the background that I might change or adjust, I really like what you've done here. I'm actually really impressed that you got this level of detail and this much. It doesn't say what size you did, but with the Marco Renoir, I used them and I found them to be a little bit blotchy. They were fine. They're okay for like a student grade pencil. Just be aware they are not light fast at all. So I would not personally want to put as much work as you did into this, because clearly this is amazing. You put so much work into it. So it makes me cringe just a little bit, because I'm like, oh, but all these colors are going to, not all of them are going to fade. Any of that are not super light. Actually, greens usually are okay. French fries, stop. Would you stop? I'm live. Come here, tiny monster. fine, sit back there, but be quiet about it. But anyway, you might be okay with most of, it depends on some of the reds and oranges maybe, but a lot of the colors you use tend to be more light fast, so you might be okay on this. What, you shut up? Boop. The purples are going to be the ones that are a little, some of the blues might, depending on the blues themselves, they might fade a little bit. But my point, the reason that I'm bringing this up is Unicorner. Oh, I didn't upload this to the Patreon one. Can somebody, because apparently I can't do my work on my own, go leave a comment that we actually, you know what, let me move this. You're right. I totally screwed that up and forgot to do that. Let me do that really quick. I sent out an email, but I did not post the updated one on Patreon. So let's grab that link. Let's head over to Patreon. And I'm just going to make a new post. Let's just throw up an image, browse. Do not eat my watch. Stop it. You're being a monster. Tiny, tiny monster. We're just going to go ahead and, okay, get off my arm if you're going to keep, I think I just hit an extra button. Thank you. Stop. Altair Shore. Oh, they changed this. Would you stop? French fry. Yes, you. Okay, the current link should be up on Patreon. No, we're not going to eat my watch. We should be good there now. Okay. Thank you for letting me know, because I clearly missed that. Here we go. The camera jittering. It might be if I hit the... Oh, I see it. Yeah, that camera is having some issues, isn't it? What is going on? I don't have a... Oh, that is weird. Hold on, let me deactivate and reactivate. I've never had that happen. Yeah, it's still doing it. Ugh. I don't know why, and I don't have any explanation. I'm just going to shrink it down so you don't see it as much, because you don't really need to see me. It's really jerky. I see what you're talking about, because it's doing it in OBS, so it's my computer. It's not YouTube. It's something happening over here. I might just get rid of, I kind of want to just get rid of my face. Let me make sure that's plugged in all the way. No, I'm not touching behind the computer, because every time I do it undoes my Wacom tablet, makes things far worse. So we're just going to deal with that. Hopefully, gosh, that is creepy almost. That's something. The solution is probably to restart my computer, but obviously that's not the ideal thing for tonight. So we're just going to have to deal with that. That is super bad. Hooray. Would you stop? We've got to deal with French fry telling everyone up. Okay, let's get on to the critique. Stop. You need to calm down, sir. Yeah, beep. I don't know if you just heard that. That was him going beep. He is the funniest bird. Okay, focus. Let's get some color in here. Okay, these branches right here. Let's go down a little bit. This is standing out a bit much to me. That I would either push back, make more gray. It has almost this cooler tone of black to it, and it just looks like a weird shape in the background. And I bet your reference photo did have a branch or a vine back there, but this is one of those cases where you're gonna see some things in a reference photo that you're gonna wanna change, because it's like my eye is just drawing to that for some reason, because it's just kind of, it feels out of place, and it's not like that anywhere else. Stop. So that would be my only real tip on the background. I love, love, love the... There. Come here. Could you be quiet? There. I don't know if you can see the tiny bird. Would you be quiet, please? Okay. You're still gonna sit on the desk. You don't even care that I just grabbed you. You want to try... You are really distracting. Way more than... Is there any snack up here I can give you? Here. Want some buckwheat? Make a mess. Farewell, clean desk. There, look. That'll keep you quiet, I hope. So far, so good. And he's taking them onto my tablet, so my tablet will be covered in crumbs. Anyway, sometimes you'll get a photo that's really nice, but you'll want to change a few things because it can be a little bit distracting when you have certain shapes that are just kind of, they just stand out a lot. So just something to keep in mind. If this were me, I would probably go back and just tone that down with some browns, push it back, not have it quite so sharp in detail, because most of the background is really soft and nice and out of focus, but that's a little bit too, it's the only place that there's that type of a shape, so that is one thing that I would adjust. Now the next thing, the detail you got in here, I love the coloring, your lighting. You took a photo. I don't know if I showed you guys the photo. You took this photo and made it so much better. This is one of those cases. People will often say, when it comes to photorealism, what's the point? Take a photo, or the photo exists. What's the point? This is the point, because you took what was a cute photo, I mean, it's okay, and you turned it into actual art. This isn't a photo worthy of like making a poster out of, but your art is. Your lighting, you made the oranges so nice and dark, and those yellows just glow. I mean, they look shiny. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let's see. Am I missing anything? Okay. Such a good job. So there's so much about this that I love. Now, the only real advice I have on fixing some stuff here is that if we look at the tails, this one is fine because that is cut, you know, you continued it off the page. This one is cut really short. So these guys, their tails, and this is where it's going to be annoying for you because I know these birds too well. I call them scream chickens. They're very loud. But their tails are really long. So that tail, you chopped it off because it was chopped off on the page. Now, if you're ever working on a subject like that where the foot goes off the page, the tail, anything goes off the page, go look up other photos to make sure that you chopping it there isn't like, I mean, his tail's like, I don't know, 2/3 of the length that it should be. So that is one thing that I would definitely, oh good, the audio is unaffected. That's the most important thing. But you should, God, I am so distracted. I have been so ridiculously, side note on why I probably sound as distracted as I am. I finally hit one of those points. I have fibromyalgia, and occasionally you go into where you've just stressed your body too much and the fatigue is so over the top, and I kind of hit that point just the last couple of weeks, and it is so bad right now. It is so hard to stay awake. So if I'm just like super scatterbrained, that is what's going on right now. I'm just so over the top between the broken foot and Matt's health, and one of my favorite fish had died like a month ago. I got the replacement is currently in quarantine. Replacement number 2. Seriously, it's been, and it's nothing major. I mean, okay, broken foot was kind of, it sucked, but I mean, nothing like horrible, but it was just too much stress, I think, all at once, and or for 3 months, and it finally hit where my fibromyalgia kicked in, which I don't usually get this bad. Oh my gosh, it is so hard to stay awake right now. So yeah, I am absolutely scatterbrained, and I apologize. And like French fry chirping, everything's just too distracting. So again, I super apologize for that. But anyway, let's get back to trying to give some advice with it and see if I can focus. I can't. I have coffee. Let's see if the coffee will help me focus. Probably not. But it's tasty, and that's what matters. Okay. So go find a photo. So let's use this as an example. Right now I'm working on the design for a surreal piece that's kind of an Alice in Wonderland theme. The book, not the Disney. Why are you turning my tablet on? See, seriously, everything distracts me. Turn off tablet. But what I'm doing, I'm looking for photos of hares and rabbits and different, I really like jackrabbits. Like, they're so weird looking on their own, but I don't love those photos. So I'm going to end up combining multiple photos. But a lot of the photos that I'm finding of any of the rabbits I'm looking at, their feet are almost always in grass. I can't see the toes. I can't see a lot. I gave you buckwheat. Now be quiet. I can't see a lot of the details. So I'm having to go and find other photos of different types of rabbits. And I'm going to have to, well, hopefully they're similar to the ones I'm working with. I've got to combine different photos in order to get what is cut off in the grass, although I am tempted to make grass growing out of the black and white tile I'm planning, so we'll see. Monica said I want to do a jackrabbit too. Mine won't be an actual jackrabbit. I like the weird shape, but it's got to be a white rabbit because Alice in Wonderland. So it's a very, I'm playing around with the design still. I'm still in that stage of the process. But the point is, I've got to find photos because so many of those rabbits are sitting in grass, and I've got to find photos where I can see those toes. Even if I decide I want grass growing from the cracks of my black and white tile, or checkered tile that I want them sitting on, I still need to make sure it doesn't look like I'm just chopping it off because I didn't want to draw feet. So this kind of brings me off on a separate tangent that goes for everybody. Animals, people. If you're drawing a full body, one of the things that is so common is to not want to draw the feet. Feet and hands are just hard. I get it. Feet especially are hard to make look right because feet are just ugly and weird anyway. Don't just chop them off. It's obvious that you're like, oh look, I just happen to have them standing in the one patch where grass is long enough to cover the feet, or I just put them in water so that I can hide the feet. Okay, well if they're in water, don't make the water solid, make it translucent enough to make it interesting. But I've seen that a lot where people will use anything to block the feet. It could be a dog, they don't want to draw the toes and they're like, oh, there's grass in front, which it is fine if it makes sense for the piece. It is not fine if it's clearly being done to hide the part that's hard, that seems too difficult for you. So, God, this is still super sketchy. But anyway, make sure if you're missing part of the photo, don't just chop it off. Go find photos of other birds and make sure that, like in this case, the tail is the wrong length, because it does look like, for me as a bird, like I'm obsessed with birds, obviously. I look at that and I'm like, oh, that tail looks weird. Either he plucked them all out and they're just now growing back, or he damaged it and they're growing back. But it's one of those things where it doesn't look right to me because I'm so familiar with these guys. So who's going to be your target market on a painting like this? Probably somebody who has sun conures. So you really want to make sure that they're very accurate. Now, in your case, I would go change this right now. I would take a Faber-Castell Perfection Eraser and erase the extended part of the tail and just have it go off the page. Just continue that down. Problem solved. So that is one tip. The next tip, let me make another layer really quick. New layer. That is on the wrong one. New layer on the right thing. Actually, I do want it on that anyway, so that actually worked. One of the next things that I'm really noticing on this is just the body shape. So this is something that happens. I do this when I do landscapes because I don't do a lot of landscapes, and so I don't always pick up on what is actually in the photo. And this is what happened here. His body should be shaped. Let's go a little bit smaller on that. Come on. Not that much smaller. That works. His body is shaped rounded like, I still don't have my undo button. Come on. What color will show it better? Maybe that one. His body, look at here, how we've got this rounded. We have the same thing here. The feather then here overlaps a bit, but see this section right here? You've got an arrow, or like a little triangle right there. That is making his body look weirdly shaped like that, where it really should be like this. And I know that sounds minor, but again, you've got to think of your target audience. You're talking about a bird person who not only have I drawn a bunch of I've spent most of my life around a lot of parrots. So when I see that, I'm like, being that you said your goal is realism, I'm being super nitpicky because this is amazing and there's not a lot to point out. But anyway, so that would be something that I would fix the shape of, come on, undo button. Why are you not? Oh, because I'm not pushing the right button. User error. Anyway, that would be something to be aware of. The only other thing, now here, right under his little leg pantaloons, we've got this orange section that is there. On yours, the shading here, I think is just a bit too dark and it makes it look weird and separate. Make that a little bit softer. And this is another thing, I would still go back with the Faber-Castell Perfection Eraser, just erase a little bit right along that edge and just soften it a bit so it's not quite so what's in your pants. Because that's kind of like when you look at it, it just looks like he's got some like saggy diaper type situation going on. And it's correct. It is there. But where we often talk about like hyping up contrast, like here, you hyped up the contrast here. perfect, and it looks so much better than the photo. So you have to be careful where you hype up that contrast, because you also hyped up the definition here. In that case, it's kind of drawing my attention to a saggy bottom. So where you really probably wouldn't want it. And it's not that the contrast is so much of an issue, it's this dark right here. Those darks I would definitely tone down. French fry, my God. Hold on, I'm gonna text Matt to come get you sooner. Because I can't work with you, sir. You're too excited to go see your friend, and you're very distracting. Okay, so that's really my only, let's see, edit, redo. That's really my only advice on this. Most of this, like where you've overdone, like see here, you went a little bit darker here. Perfect, it looks amazing. So it's not that you, like, I almost always want more contrast. It's just his little paint, his saggy bottom would be something I would tone down. And then the tail. The other thing that we've got going here is where the location of this. So this feather here is actually the outside wing. There you go. He just won't shut up. He is so excited to see Nugget. And he's off, so it'll be quiet for now. And he's gonna chatter all the way down the hall. It's like his favorite time of the day. He loves seeing his best friend. But anyway, let's go on. That feather right here is on the outside. It's not connected to this. It's behind it. And this again comes to just knowing these birds and knowing what goes where. This is a part of his tail. Like, it's the feathers that go right before his actual longer tail feathers come out. It's a part of the body. So that's why having, that's why this little section here is a bit weird, because it's changing the shape of the body, since this part is a part of that. This is completely separate. This is wing one, this is wing two. They're separate, and this one, because it looks like it's going under this portion, it's now changing the bird's anatomy. It's just not correct. That feather couldn't really be under where it's coming out from. So this is one of those things where when you're changing your reference photo, like being a little bit off is fine, but watch where you're being a little bit off, because in this case, like I said, here's the body. That's all a part of the feathers that are coming off the body right before the tail starts. This is the wing on the opposite side, and then this is the wing closest to the viewer. So those three things, it's very, very important where they are, because this is closest to us. This can't be underneath that. Like it's just not where it would be located. This also is coming down a bit too far because of the color you've got there. It's kind of in more and up, but that one's more minor. So anyway, those are my tips for this. Just minor little things. Overall though, oh my gosh, this piece is stunning. You should be so, so proud of yourself. Okay, thank you for submitting. Thank you to everybody who submitted. Okay, let's see. What do we have next? We have Lily. I think, did these come in separate? I got a couple from Lily. But no one trying to use only a red, blue, and yellow. Trying to use only a red, blue, and yellow. Can you elaborate? Huh? Lily. What are you talking about? Is Lily here tonight? Because if she is, I would like to get more information on, hello, I'm guessing my pick won't be critiqued, still can't do Patreon. Yeah, these are just for Patreon. This is one of the rewards for being a Patreon member. So let's take a look at Lily's work, but I don't know. I'm guessing she's asking, oh, that is amazing. Trying to use only, trying to use only red, blue, and yellow. That part I understand. Can you elaborate? I don't understand. And then the fish one has no information. Hold on, did anything come separate? Okay, wait, I've got a few emails. No, that's the same thing. What is going on? Lily, second critique. Are there more? I feel like I can't give the best advice. But we'll go with that she's just trying to do red, blue, and yellow in asking for tips. I'm going to interpret that as that being what we're talking about here. Okay, so this is pretty. Now don't I have the reference photo for this one? I think I did this bee forever. Oh, it would have been old. I don't think I still have it. That bee was or at least on that flower, was one that I did in watercolor and had to go back and finish it because I did not get it finished. It looked terrible during the live stream. I don't know what we're asking, honestly. I'm not sure what advice to give because I'm not sure what, this is one of the reasons that I really need more information from you guys. I need to know what your goals are. What were areas that you ran into trouble with? What challenges did you face that you're looking for advice for? So right now, the previous one, Ryan said he was going for realism. Even that little amount of information does help. I mean, obviously she's doing realism, but that helps if I can get a bit more, just more. So I know what you're looking for advice on. But let's just go with this being, we're going for realism and only using those 3 colors. So those 3 colors you did fine on. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a reference photo. I don't know what your aim was. And that's one of the other things and why I need the reference photos, because it's really hard for me to, was there a previous? Hold on. Wait, was that an older one? Nope, that's the same one. See, why I keep looking into this, Lily is very thorough when she submits with a lot of information. I feel like the email didn't include, because one of the emails just had a ... which Lily knows. I'm saying all this, Lily always explains this stuff, what she's looking for. I'm going to hold off because I don't know. I'm not sure what challenges we were facing. Well, here's where I'll go with this. They look like acrylics. Were we going for more stylized? Were we going for more realism? I don't know. Let's say it's more realism. Let's pull up a photo and just kind of give some advice. I'm just going to head over to Unsplash, make it easy. Let's look for a bee. Does anyone know what that flower is called? That might make me able to find it easier. Just even if I can find that. A coneflower, thank you. Bee coneflower. Or echinacea, okay. Here we go, I got the flower. That helps a lot. Ooh, that's a neat photo. Different photo from that, but I'm just going to open that in a new tab and save that because that is really pretty. It doesn't help for this one, but actually, maybe it does. Let me see if I can find something kind of similar to what Lily found. Let's go with this one. This is not exactly the same, but it's going to give us a better idea. Again, I don't know what Lily's reference photos. I have a feeling some of what Lily sent just didn't come through because she is always super thorough. Okay, let's pull this in. At least it gives us something to look at. So, bouquet look, I think could be a little bit softer. So we'll start with that, with the circles. Bouquet with acrylics, when you're getting used to it, is not the easiest thing in the world at all. Super easy with an airbrush, but when you're not working with an airbrush, it is very difficult. You did a wonderful job. But that is one thing that I would keep practicing. If you like the bouquet look, keep practicing with it to get used to making it super soft, because we always want that really, really soft look. So that would be one tip. Keep working on that. And the cool thing with that, with acrylics in a background like that, what I would do is layer on top of that. So I get it to this point, because mine would look exactly like that. A little bit, not quite as smooth as I might want that background to be, do another layer right on top of it, same colors, same everything. That one doesn't come out as smooth as you want, do another layer right on top of it. Now we're not going for a 2-inch thick layer. The point is that all of these acrylics are going to be semi-translucent. Yes, we have some colors that are going to be more opaque. Hold on, why am I being texted? Is this important? I don't know. Yeah, no, I let the dogs back in the house. See, seriously, super scatterbrained, cannot focus. Anyway, but all of these colors are going to be a little bit translucent. Every time you do another layer, you can still see those base layers. You end up adding so much more depth to your work if you can keep layering on top of layer until you get your background just as smooth as you want. Now, it's not that this isn't pretty, but that is probably something that I would do a little bit more on. Now, one of the things that I don't love on this, these colors, we've got this olivey green color back here. I don't love the color balance. I don't know. I feel like it's just fighting against itself right now. Let's crop that. We've got two. I'm just gonna focus on this one. Actually, before I focus on that, let's actually look at that really quick. This one, I feel like it needs more color in the leaves, but these cooler greens, these more blue greens, you've got a little bit of the warmer down here. This one feels a little bit more balanced than the one with the pink flower. This olivey yellow green, as much as I love those colors, it's getting a bit muddy back here. Like it's too much yellow. I would pull a little bit more of your reds and your blues. Like you can still have it lean warmer, but right now it's like this weird orangey yellow instead of more of an olive green. So I would certainly use a little bit less yellow right there. The bonus of going with less yellow in that case is that the yellow in the bee would stand out that much more if he wasn't against those already warmer tones. But those aren't even so much warm. They just have a very muddy look, and I think it's because there's a little bit too much blue and a little bit too much, like it's too much of everything mixed evenly. So I would instead remove the yellow and lean more into the blues and the reds, cool that down a little bit more. And I do like that there's variation so that it's not the exact same as the blue side, that you do shift color there a little bit, but that color there is not, it's just coming out a little on the muddy side for what the flower is. And I think you can, I would go a little bit more bold there, or even if you wanted to tone it down, you could go with a little bit more black and white, so you push it a bit more gray, but not so muddy yellow, if that makes sense. So I would shift that a little bit. The other thing, so we're gonna now focus, I'm gonna crop this one, and we are going, oh no, this one. We're gonna focus a little bit more on just this with the actual picture of what I now know is a coneflower, but I'll never remember. So this photo I don't love for two reasons. One, I can see so much in the background, it gets a little bit distracting, and that's why I'm cropping that so that we can just focus on the colors of the actual painting. The second reason, it's not straight on. So we definitely want to, when possible, let's push this down, go a bit more straight on. Okay. Let's shrink you down. Actually, we'll just enlarge you a little bit, or not. Because this went off. User error again. I hate when it's user error and I can't just blame technology. Oh, cancel. I'm having the troubles here. Too big. I don't know why you got to make that big of a jump. Let's do 40. Okay. So right now, this could be because of the glare. Acrylics oils, anything really. When you get into blacks, the reflection, it's super reflective. So that is going to make it a bit more challenging. But look at how dull that looks, and I think it's the reflection. Add more blues and reds into that to make it look a little bit deeper. And then if it's still not dark enough, more black, do a few more layers in there to get those darks really dark. I would like to see that punched up quite a bit. Now, on the underside of the bee, I don't have your reference photo, but usually you don't see black like that bold of a shadow on the underside of the bee. Usually, like you can see on this one, we go into these deeper gold tones, burgundies, deeper oranges, browns, but not really black on the underside. Again, I don't have your reference photo. You may have had one that had fanciness to him. Given the size of him, I like that you paid attention to the direction of the fur. You got variation in there, you got the texture in there, but using a smaller brush and getting some extra detail in there, I think would look really nice. And I have seen your work. I know you can get that level of detail. I think that would look a lot better for some of the fluff here. For the body, this the coloring is good. We're good here. I like the transparency with the wings, but I would pull more of whatever your background color is, and you can do this just as a glaze, so a lot of water and a little bit of whatever your background color is. I would glaze some of that green into or over the white of the wings. When I do white on the wings, I want that to be a bit more like go more sparingly on that so that it looks really shiny where it is white. So I do use white, but I want more of the background color picking up in that so that it does have more of a transparent look to it. And then your edges and then some of the details inside have that white, but not that white. Same thing on the body. We've got a lot of really white, like all the way down to the bottom. So we've got this dark black shadow on this section, but when we get up into here, the white is just kind of the same all the way through. So I think we can do a little bit more work on the shading. And that's probably one of the biggest things is going to be the shading on this, and even as we move into the petals. Nick said, don't make my mistake of if using limited palettes of primaries, make sure all the colors are cool or warm, not mixed. Now that can be a problem too when you, with some, like using 3 primary colors, not all reds are equal, not all blues are equal, and sometimes if you have like a cool blue and a warm red that leans a little bit more orange, you end up with more of a muddy brown color instead of a purple color you're actually going for. So that is actually a really good tip, Nick. Look up actual colors people recommend. I don't have anything off the top of my head. I don't do a lot with color theory, but I've had a lot of requests, so I may start working more on that with you guys. But yes, that is absolutely true. You can't just get any red and any blue and mix them and get purple. If your red is like a cadmium red light or medium hue, which is just leaning more, a little bit closer to orange on that color wheel, and you mix that with ultramarine, it's not going to be cute. You are not going to get the results you're thinking you're going to get. So that is a really good bit of advice there. So for the colors of the flower, this is great, but see how we've got the black in here? See, this is why I want to know if you're going for more stylized, because this is almost leaning towards a more like kind of comic-y, like, not pop art, but headed that direction. Like, getting there. So anyway, when we get into the shadows on the leaf, or on the petals, 0 black, none. When you get into these ones, you can see, we'll use this one as an example. You could mix a little bit of black into that to get that kind of purpley, tone that down, but not a lot. These black lines are what's giving it more of a comic book style. Again, you may have written in the email that did not come through because there was a weird line thing that I don't see. I have a feeling, because I know Lily, and she tells me all the things. So when she submits, so I have a feeling something didn't come through on that email. But anyway, these lines don't. How do I word that? Even if you're going for a comic book style, that's not how I would do it. Like, I don't like the black lines there. That is one thing that I would certainly tone down and focus more. I mean, if you look at this example here, and now, again, I don't know your reference photo, but if we could lighten that up, get rid of those, we'll just do a little, we got some time. Let's do a little, let me pull my color wheel over here. I'm just going to cover these. Watch what a difference this will make. Actually, before I, whoops. Do anything silly. Let's layer, new layer. Let's cover some of this because it's just a bit on the look at me side of things. And we can just, oops, well, I need you to be a bit bigger. Even if I don't have my pen set up right, so I am really like half baking this, and I apologize. But look what a difference. Just let's get rid of those black, those lines are just so, it feels more rushed. Like, I have seen what you do, so I know you get all, like, already, that looks a million times better without the black lines. But we can come through and get some of these deeper colors for our shadows, and that's going to be a bit more fluorescent than you're going to get with any paint. So let's be a little bit more realistic. Let's just go darker like that. I mean, you can get fluorescent paint like that fluorescent, but it is going to not be light fast. So let's just go. We can pull a lot of these tones down without that black. So we still have the lines, we still have those creases. We want to get rid of so much. And again, totally just doing this really quickly because I don't have my, well, it's a live stream, but I also don't have my brushes set up properly. But already look at the difference, and I did not do this as a separate layer. Of course I didn't. Hold on, let's do it this way. Not ideal, but it's what's going to happen. I probably put the layer on the other one, but look at the difference of just getting rid of the black. Like, it just looks a lot cleaner already. That black mixing in and getting this weird grayish blue color doesn't work with anything in this piece. And I think that's really the biggest problem. Actually, watch what happens. I bet you if we just made this black and white, it would look a million times better. This really is mostly the colors being chosen are my biggest complaints here. Let's see, image adjustments. Yeah, see, look at already, I still don't like those black lines. Those black lines are still way too harsh. But the difference it just flows a lot better. So I think that we're largely having a problem with this mud color back here isn't working with the pinks up here, and then we've got this purpley gray color here that came out of nowhere. I mean, there's a little bit of that in the background, but not enough that there's just a lack of balance in the piece as a whole, I think, is my biggest complaint there. We also could come through with a lot of highlights too, so I haven't added those yet. Let's go here. So we can go, Sushi's now screaming her head off. It was French fry or sushi, one or the other. But look at how, these are not soft at all. Oh, let's calm, there we go. Just calm that down a bit. But we can pull more details. But the color, which is not, so you know what's interesting is you guys often hear me say the color is not what matters, it's your values. There are always going to be rules for that. Sometimes you will put colors together that just aren't working so much. And you know what's interesting? On this one, if we were to break up and just do half, like just look at this section here, these colors are fine. That works together. And if we look at this section, those colors are fine together. The problem is, as a whole, this right here is fighting itself really bad. Like, I think that that's the biggest issue right there. They're drawing me into what is going on back here in this background versus the foreground, which is really where we want our focus to be. I think if you went with just one, like, that mud color is pretty. That works. That's not, it doesn't even look like mud so much right now. But when you had it against the cooler tones in the same background, in the same bokeh, and I don't want to say that you never want to mix warms and cools. Sometimes you do, even in a bokeh background. But for whatever reason, it is not working on this one. So what would I do in this piece? Obviously fix, like I said, get rid of the black. The black in the lines of a flower just don't work. And you can do it quickly. You saw how fast I went through there, but it made a huge difference. So I'd fix that. I mean, the comments on the bee, quick, glazing over the wings to tone some of that down. And then the background, I would probably glaze blue because it's going to be much easier, I think, to tone down the yellow than to yellow up. Well, you could go either way. You could either pull yellow by glazing into the blue side, or you can pull blue and glaze over the other side. But to neutralize it or tone it down a little bit so it's not just so, look at me, contrasty. And you guys know I love contrast. It just isn't working on this one for those two. I think because the shapes are the exact same on the warm side and the cool side. So it does, like, why there's not a definite definition. Sometimes you'll be able to tell, like, the bushes ended here and now we're seeing the sunset, or the side of a yellow building or something. You can tell that they're different. There's nothing separating them, but those colors together, just that shade of blue and that shade of mud yellow. And I say mud yellow not like it's a terrible color, because as we saw, when we're only looking at the one side, that's pretty. It works, and it looks really pretty with the pinks. So the pinks also look really pretty with the blues. Just the blues and that yellow, not so hot together. So that is what I would do on that one. So that's the one I'm going to focus on. The other one looked like it just wasn't finished yet, maybe. I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't want to open because I have that one up. Nope, don't save it. Where was the other? Do we want to go over that at all? This one, still with those lines. I still don't like the black lines on that. I would certainly tone that down. It just doesn't feel finished. I like the blue. This greenish blue, the richer blue, is okay with this. This makes sense with the darker, the yellowy on the bottom. It doesn't feel like it's contrast, like fighting each other to me so much. That one worked much, much better. The flower, obviously, I would just glaze your pinks or whatever color you want over and get rid of those black lines, get the shadows in there. This shadow in here being a purpley gray doesn't work with anything. You're mixing your red and your blue, and and I get it, because you're thinking, okay, cool down, what's in the distance? Not like that. That's not how we want to do it. It would still be the color of the flower. It would just be like a hint, not so, not gray. And again, I don't have the photo, but if we went by this photo, we can see, we'll use this one as an example. The areas that are in shadow are still pink. They're just in the background. And like here, we've got this bluish tint to it, but it's still pink with that bluish tint. Here, we've got this orangey tan color with gray. It's not orangey tan with a blue tint. It's gray. So we definitely want that to all make a lot more sense. Sometimes, watch too. Sometimes we spend too much time, or not we, I don't, because it's never been something I got super into, but you can watch videos or read in books and they're trying to explain color theory, but they do it in a way that will confuse the absolute living crap out of you. And somehow they make your work less cohesive in color while you're trying to follow their color theory tips. Watch out for that. If you are finding that you're mixing stuff and it's like, I followed the book, I just always find color theory books overcomplicate things and make students have a much harder time learning to paint. I know this won't work for everybody, but go with what's pretty. Go with what works. And yes, we do want to have a general understanding of cool, pushing things back, and warmer pulling things forward, and how these work together. You can make a blue stand out much more because you put something warm, if it's cooler blue and you put something warmer next to it to make the blue, seem more blue, or the red, the warmer color, whatever it is, more vibrant because of the tone of blue you put next to it. I'm not saying there's not a place for color theory, but be careful, because a lot of what I see, a lot of books, I honestly suspect the person who wrote it is either not actually an artist, they're more of a scientist and they're writing it from a sciencey place that does not make sense to artists. Or it's somebody who I swear they don't understand it themselves, because you look at what they're talking about and you're like, that's not what you said, one thing and you did something else. I don't know. I just feel like like what I'm doing right now. I feel like so much of what I have seen in mainly in books. I haven't seen that bothered much with videos, but they will overcomplicate it to the point where the student's work comes out worse than it was before they started trying to follow those color theory things. So just be careful with that, because in this case we've got this just kind of reminds me of that. It reminds me of what I see color theory trying to explain, but it not like coming out quite right, if that makes sense. Let's see. Nick says, I envision color temps more from imagining than on the color wheel. If a color shade leans more towards blue than red, it's cooler. If it leans more towards red, it's warmer. See, that's how I look at it too, because And I've had people correct me when I'm like, okay, this is leaning cooler, but I look at cooler, like you said, leaning more towards blue. But there are warm blues. There are warm, and that's where it starts getting so overwhelmingly confusing for a lot of people, and it's very hard to explain in a way that makes sense. So, yeah, I just feel like when you start diving down that hole, depending on who is explaining it to you, can actually make your work worse. Can make things start coming out muddy because you're mixing warms and cools that shouldn't be mixed together, or colors that you normally would never choose that. So yeah, those are just, and I've had a lot of requests to make videos and talk more about color theory, but that's why I don't, because you can see even as I'm explaining it right now, I can make it work in my work, but when you start explaining it, there's so much involved. It's like explaining a math equation, and a lot of artists, myself included, I hit a point where I'm like, and you lost me. Make it simple, make it easy, and that's how I try to teach, is make it easy, make it pretty. I don't care about the science behind the pigment in this color and the pig. You lost me. Like my brain is like, nope, I'm not picking up on that. So it's very hard to explain that in a way, I think, because the way I teach is trying to explain things in the most simplified way possible to just get your results. I just want your work to be good. And a lot of this color theory, I feel like it just holds people back, and it concerns me. And the reason that I say that is I'm very familiar with Lachri's work. And Lachri's work normally has a lot more harmony in it than what I'm seeing in these two. Feel like there's a push towards worrying too much about warm and cool versus what just looked good, because quite often you can look at something and go, that didn't work, that didn't look good. But when you're too focused on the sciencey side of things, sometimes you ignore your taste. You are looking at it and knowing, yeah, that's not working for me. So that's probably, the flowers were an assignment she was given. Interesting. I need to talk to Lachri more about this, because that's interesting. Was it on color theory? Because limited palette part, I mean, yeah, too much black mixing in there, getting the gray is going to be like one of the bigger things, I would think. Or you're mixing black. Yeah, I don't know. But watch out too for classes if you feel it's not unusual to try a different style or a teacher's different way of teaching and have a little bit of a regression on your work. Just make sure that regression isn't too much or frustrating or make you not feel happy about it, because I know Lachri is amazing. Lachri's work is incredible. So that's why it kind of, yeah, I wish I had more from her on what was going on with that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on, because I have kind of rambled on that for a bit. Next we had, this was also Lachri's. That is really good. I don't really have much advice. Make sure they feel like they're in the water. The orange is really orange. I need a reference photo. I need to see what you're looking at. The things I can say right off the bat that I am loving about this. See how this fish is aimed at the viewer? You just won me over. One of the things, I know I need to, like I said, I have not been feeling well, so I've not been in the Discord. Here and there I'll peek in or someone will tag me and I'll go check it. But I have just been like, yeah, I have not been all here. The last couple of weeks I've really felt like crap. I thought I was getting sick, and then I never did. Like, my throat's been hurting this whole time. I'm like, oh yeah, where it's autoimmune issues. Anyway, moving on. Well, fibromyalgia. But anyway. This one, I love how this fish is aimed at the viewer. Here, this fish's eyes are doing something funky though, at the angle that eye in the mouth, something. I don't have the reference photo, so I'm not going to really be able to say too much, but we've got some anatomy issues going on here. Watch with fish in this case, he looks like he's turning or moving. I would definitely use some of the watercolor and tone part of the tail down so it looks like he's going away from the viewer. But those are my tips without seeing the reference photo. I love the softness of the sand fading back. That is beautiful. The water is beautiful. The branches, I would like to see them disappear a little bit more as they go back, because it kind of feels like they're all about the same all the way across, forward to back. I'd like to see some of the back, like the hint of lines in the background. So just a slightly darker color than the background color for like barely. So you just see the shadow basically of the little leaves in the background. I'd probably do more. This is beautiful though. But yeah, I really need to see a reference photo to critique it better. Aaron says fibrofun. Yeah, you don't hear me complain about it often, but I definitely hit a point where it's like yeah. Okay, I'll try not to bore you with it too much. Who is next? Okay, I went back too far though. May, June, July. Where are we? Where is Lily's? Okay, there's Lily's. So these are, okay. We've got a reference photo for this one, so it's instant easy mode for me. Those birds are all extra squawky tonight. Even Loki's in there squawking away. He's usually the quieter one. Okay, so here's our reference photo. Here's our artwork. I'm gonna shrink that down. Oh no, I'm not gonna shrink it down because I need to charge this. Okay, maybe coffee will help. So this is from Marie Droet. I'm butchering your name and I apologize. I got Marie right. This is an 8x5 colored pencil, mostly polychromos and pan pastel. It's on sanded paper. Let's see, the photo reference was taken by my mother and the art was a gift to her. Oh, that's awesome. I bet she loved that. Oh, this is beautiful. I like that you even put the name on the, that it shows on the tag. This is really pretty. Okay, we all know what my main critique here is going to be. Dark's darker. This one's easy. Watch layer. I'm just going to be super lazy, but watch the difference that this makes. Wrong one. Dang it. I was so close to looking like I knew what I was doing. So close. Okay, watch the difference hyping up our contrast makes. That's my critique on that. Dark's darker, light's lighter. That's pretty much it. Now, on top of that, one thing that I would do is tone the body down more. Make it more, so like you can see in the reference photo, we've got a lot of those blue tones. I would certainly pull more blues and purples. Anytime I'm doing a black animal, black cat, black dog, panther, whatever, leopard, I'm going to pull a lot of purples and a lot of blues. It just makes them look a lot shinier. So you did great work here. But yeah, my main thing, make it darker. And then the white, like on the chest, is just too white. That should be, have more blues, and you can even see in the reference photo. White is just not going to be white. Now, this reference photo, was this cut out from one image and put on another, or what? I see part outlines on it, so I'm not sure what happened on the original reference photo. Oh, I think it's just line drawn. But there is a lot of this blue purpley color. I do like that you leaned more towards the browns and the oranges because it works better with the background, the floor that the dog is laying on. This is kind of a weird one. The angle is certainly weird. It wouldn't be my first choice just angle-wise for a pet portrait because the front arms are kind of twisted, so it looks all skinny, and you're just, it is an odd one. That said, you did such a good job of improving on, like, you made the photo better. You turned it into art. I don't love the angle of the reference photo, yet you were able to turn it into a beautiful, beautiful piece. So it's a good example of, even when, like, a good artist is going to take a mediocre reference photo and make it awesome. So that is really, really good. Teresa said, what is the blackest black colored pencil, or is it in the layering? Yeah, it's in the layering. So my favorite black, in most cases, is going to be my polychromos. I just feel like I can get it deeper. But part, I think, is because it's not as opaque as the other colors. It's more translucent, which means when I am layering it with my purples, my blues, my reds, those are showing through more, and it makes the black look deeper. When you use a more opaque black, it just feels more dull. It doesn't have the depth to it, and I think that's why my polychromos black is always my go-to whenever I'm doing black. Just being that it's got the highest oil content, it just gets darker than all my other blacks. So, but again, I'm layering it. So that is going to be, let's say, unless you're burnishing right from the beginning, layering. Yeah, layering it really makes a difference. And with that polychromos being translucent, black, the problem with black, it's, a lot of people tell you not to use black, you should be mixing color. I always use black, but I mix the other color in with it, and that's why my blacks will come out so rich and deep, even though I'm still using black. But polychromos black being transparent or more translucent, that is going to allow those other colors to show more when they mix together, and I just feel like I get a darker look from it. So that is my go-to. But no, I think you did a great job. I would tone down. I think the rear end needs to be separated from the head more. So I would probably just make the rear end a lot darker. Let's play around with that a little bit. I'm going to layer, new layer, because I want 2 of these. Am I on the right one this time? No, that's not what I wanted. I want a duplicate. Pay attention. Layer. Duplicate layer. Oh, good. You're back. Are you going to be quiet this time? Let's see. What am I doing? I'm not paying attention is what I'm doing. Layer. No. Image. Adjustment. God, I seriously cannot pay attention. We are just really going to do that. And then I'm going to take this. And let's just kind of, I'm just going to do a quick crappy job of this. See, now this area is going to be a little bit different. I was going to do this one way. Now I'm going to do it a different way. And that's a leg. This all needs to be, oops, the ear got kind of cropped, weird, whatever. This whole area needs to be separate from that. Either it needs to be lighter or it needs to be darker. In this case, I would go darker. So let's, do you, here. Set to darken, darken, no. Nope, that's not gonna do what I want. Okay, we'll do it this way. I'll just be super lazy about it. Maybe not that much, that is too much. Oh, because I still have color burn on, that's why. There we go. Too purpley. What do I have? Oh, pull it over there. See, seriously, not paying attention. Separate this a bit more here. Now, I'm not saying this is the best job in the world. I just want you to see what I mean by now, just that small amount, the head and the body are separate. We just add so much more, like he's coming out at the page at you now instead of being more flat. And what I would do on this, if you still have this piece, oh, you gave it to her already. If you gave it to her already, oh no, it was a gift to her, it's done. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. But if I had this piece, I would go back and darken those because you've already got the detail. When you go back, if you have any piece you've been working on and you're thinking, oh, but I really want it to be done. I've worked on it for so long. I don't want to put more time into it. It does not take that long because you already did the hard work. The detail is the hard work. Separating all those clumps and clusters. My God, your detail on that curly fur is phenomenal. This is exactly how to make fur look curly. Perfect. Like seriously, flawless there. I would just go through and make it darker. And I don't mean shade over everything. I would take my darks and darken up in between those curls and then darken up the actual highlight of the curve separate. I would not just shade black over everything because I think that's going to start looking really, really sloppy. But just by adding that, look at the difference now and how much more, like you want to look more. It brings the viewer in more. The dog looks like his head is coming like out at the viewer, even though this position is kind of not great. And you did a wonderful job copying your reference photo, but look at just that little change. We can make them pop that much more out of the canvas. So beautiful work. And then on the fur here, I would just make that much more, just pull one of the colors you're already using. Just tone that down a lot like that. You're really just going to have a few white hairs like highlights. I'm being super sloppy with this. Make yours good. You would have a few highlights, but you don't want something that high look at me when it comes to the white like that. See how this pops out to me more than the dog's face, which is not what you want. You want to push this back, pull the face forward. So by darkening that would help it. But beautiful work. The curly hair though, oh my gosh, you did such a phenomenal job on getting the shape of that fur. Like that is really, really impressive. You have definitely mastered the shape of curly dog fur, which is like such a hard thing for a lot of people to get. So you should be so proud of yourself. We have Shaniqua. Am I saying that right? I hope I'm saying that right, not butchering your name too, because I'm butchering everyone's name tonight. Hi, Lisa. I wasn't going to submit because this was just a practice piece, a practice painting of sand because I plan on doing more desert scenes. My goal is realism, but as you can see, it looks very different from the reference image. Hi, Beepa. Would love some tips on this. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, we're back there. I didn't bring a jacket, so sorry. You're not going to stick real well. You know, you can get under my hair, but I don't have... You're just going to get in my hair, aren't you? I am really lucky. He almost never poops on me, because you might be thinking, ew, you're going to get poop in your hair. Not with him. Any of our other birds, absolutely. Not him. I don't know what it is about him, but he does not like to poop where he's sleeping, and I am so grateful for that. Okay. Oh, this is neat. I like yours better. So the reference photo looks more like fabric than sand to me. Yours, I love the contrast in your lighting. That looks cool. I really like that. I think that's really pretty. Okay. But as for the sand, it would need more. So it looks to me, you did a lot of spongy type work. It looks like dabbing your brush on the artwork itself. Or on the canvas. I know you don't stick because I don't have one in here. Hold on, do I have anything I can use? Do I need to put a towel on my shoulders for you? I do, don't I? Because you're going to wiggle nonstop. So let me get let's see if this will work. I don't care if I look like a dork. I need to make my bird happy. That's what really matters, huh, French fry? Here. I use these towels for the chair that I have in here, so, because he does poop on when he sits. So, well, him and Tuna. You better? Are you on top or in it? Where did you? You're in it. You can't just be in it. Come out. You can't sit under. French fry. Yeah, don't beep. Get up. There. Are you on it now? Okay. Oh, if you come back, it's like a bib for my back. If you come back, I think you'll stick better now. Come on. Come. Come. Come on, settle in. Because once you settle, you'll be done for the night. Come on. Come here. Okay, whatever. He should be back. Anyway, it looks like you did a lot of dabbing with the brush. And those brush strokes are going to be a lot more harsh. When you're doing sand, the way I like to do it is take a stiff brush. So now I'm just wearing a back bib for no reason because you flew off. But what I like to do is take a brush, a stiff, kind of not cleaned well brush, and flick the paint. You could use a toothbrush for this. Some people like that, but it makes your fingers dirty. I like just a stiff paintbrush and a palette knife, and I pull the palette knife towards me. You want to thin the paint out a lot. So a decent amount of water so that it's thin enough to work. Now if your stiff brush gets too wet, it's not going to flick real well. But you want to flick the paint in many, many, many layers. You can see me do this a lot when I'm doing sand, and you may have done it on parts, but it looks like a lot of this was more sponged on, which is a great way for getting your base texture. So that's fine to use that technique, kind of dabbing or sponging on the base of the sand. But I would then go over and be flicking paint. So same way I do stars, same way. Are you coming now? I'll give you back my thing. Here, let me give my cape. Come on. French fry, come. 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 If I can get you settled, we can just be done for the night. Come here. Come. Come. French. Here, I'll give you a pistachio. Will that get you over? Yeah, come. 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 Come on. Night of how many things can I be distracted by? Okay, he should settle in after he finishes his pistachio. But anyway, flicking the paint is going to give you more of that sand look. You can also to soften it, use a fine mist sprayer with water. I believe this is acrylics. It looks like acrylics to me. Take a fine mist sprayer with water, and after you flick some of the paint, in between some of the layers, not all of them, but some of them, you can just lightly soften it out with your fine mist sprayer and a mop brush. So this is something that you'll definitely need to practice, but you can get that kind of smudgy look, and it is light. You don't want to overdo it, but it'll help it not to all look too polka dotty. And again, you'll have to play around and practice with that, but it can give you a really cool look for additional work on the sand. You did great here. I would do just more speckles. We've also got a difference in color. Yours are a warmer tone. This one has more of that purpley, blue kind of tone mixed in with it, with the shadows. And the shadows, the transition with the shadows on these are much, much softer. So that would be one thing. I would probably blend right in here, between the dark and the light. Look at how soft that is, where yours is a lot more harsh. So I would soften that more. If you leave it this harsh, it ends up looking, it's funny because I said this one looks like fabric to me, but it makes it look more like creases in fabric, where it's like a really harsh line. Whereas with the sandy waves, there you go. Go get settled in. Here, we'll just tuck this into my shirt because I'm a classy lady. Whatever. Makes the bird happy. And he'll be quiet now. But anyway, that line I would certainly soften up if you want it to look more like a wave versus such a harsh line. Same thing here. I would probably soften all of these lines just a little bit, but I think it's really, really pretty. I like here that you've got these waves coming through, or those ripples in the sand. I think that that's pretty. I like that better than on the reference photo. But great, great work. And yeah, flicking paint. And I would even, like here, as you move forward, this would be a great place to have flicked some paint and then taken that fine mist sprayer and a mop brush and just very lightly. And you have to be careful because if you give it too much water, you will just erase the dots you just did. So it's very, very light. You're climbing up. Would you settle in? Just get in my hair like you normally do. Settle in. But if you, on the foreground area, a few dots and smudge them. Actually, I don't have my brushes. I can't do it. I have brushes that would do this easily, so I could show you what I meant. But that will give you the look of sand in the foreground without being perfectly smooth. So you get that nice soft transition. Again, flick the paint in the foreground. Now, the paint in the background, I would have completely dry at this point, so that when you smudge and you spray, you're not messing anything up there. If you don't like how it comes out, you can just wipe it off and try again. But or flick the paint and just like little tiny swipe of the sand in the foreground, and it will make it look like there's sand, but just soft and out of focus. So that is what I would do there, but you're doing great. More paint flicking is my advice. Okay, next we have Marissa. So my goals for this piece were to create a realistic black and white portrait utilizing all pencil and charcoal, making sure I had a good light and dark values. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Okay, one of the first things I'm seeing on here that I love is that you did not try to force a bunch of detail in his face and his mask that's in shadow. Like he's got the eye visor, but you can see his mouth here. You just have the barest hint, just like the photo, and that right there is huge. That's a big deal. One of the mistakes I often see people make is tucking. Oh, anyway, one of the mistakes I often see people make is trying to force detail in the teeth, in the mouth, and whatever, when it should be in shadow, exactly as you've done here. So wonderful job there. That's like the first thing that stands out to me because I see people kind of mess that up all the time, but you did great. Now, the first thing we're going to do is make that black and white, because if that is not black and white, it is very hard to judge values. Now, after something is made, after something is made black and white, are you preening me back there? Thank you. Now we can see our values better. So what are the first things that we're seeing? That helmet does not look shiny at all. And that is mainly because it is 100% because of our values. Look at how light. Let's bring another box up actually. How far into my hair are you going to climb, tiny bird? I gave you fabric to sit on. Okay, layer. So what I'm going to do, look right here. Don't worry about the color, but look as we go up from here to here, how light or dark something should be. That is what's really going to show us the difference. There's our lightest gray. So we're way up here. But on yours, the lightest gray is way down there, like way down there. That is something that you, like, that's what's going to make things look shiny. And we've got the darks in there where the reflection, definitely get the reflection when you're dealing with something like that. Go ahead and get those shapes in when it comes to a helmet with a space that big. And that's really going to be the case as we go through here. So here's kind of the mid-range on that part of the shirt. Your mid-range is way too light. And that's what I would focus on. But if you did not already, whenever you are working, you've got a color reference photo, make it black and white when you're working in black and white so that you can see your values. Otherwise, you're going by the color. When you're looking at that photo in color, it looks like it's not uncommon for our eyes to look at it and go, okay, it should be this light. Make it always, always, always make it black and white so that you can better judge those values. Otherwise, it is so hard. Lord, how far up my hair are you going? Your darks are dark, but your lights are too light. Like this is sticking out in a way that makes him look like he's got lady boobs. You see how it's so light? It makes it look like he's got melons. So look at here, medium tone, and it's just the values need to be mostly a lot darker. And then the same thing as we get into a skin tone. So there's the mid-tone on a skin. Oh, you're close there. Mid-tone, you're pretty good. His darks are not dark enough. The curve, his arm is really flat. So this is where we want to start watching into some of the drawing. So that gives you an idea on the values all over the place. Like here, the white needs to be a lot lighter. Your lights are, everything is coming out a little bit too mid-range. We want to make sure our lights are light enough, our darks are dark enough. So we've got that. Now I want to talk a little bit about the drawing. We really want to watch when it comes to, stop, just shrink. Oh, my mouse, everything's skippy. It's not, wow, it's not just OBS. My whole computer should have been restarted. Oh, come on. Will you work this way for me? Yeah, we'll do that because my mouse is not working. So when it comes to the line drawing, let's pull up. Look how rounded the arm is here. Oops, that is too translucent. Let us know what I'm looking for. I did it again. Come on. Look at this curve. Yours is just one. You don't have quite, look at how much more that muscle needs to be defined. So that one there, we have here, this curves out and out. You've got that one kinda, not quite as much, a little bit more there, but this, you've got it straight down where it needs to be curved. These are things that are going to make a huge difference in your portraits. You did a great job. Like it's not bad by any means, but if you can start nitpicking these things that seem so minor, it's going to look that much more realistic. This is graphite and charcoal. So we've got this arm, like right now, you've got this is kind of one thing where look at, we've got upper arm here, curve out, in, and then it's kind of rounded and it comes out. Look at the difference in the shape there. Like it should have more of a turkey leg feel to it. Like see how it rounds off and then comes in towards the wrist? The hand is too small as well. So that's what I like to do too when I'm double checking to see if my work is accurate when I'm drawing. I will take a piece of paper and we're just going to use this as our example. It's not the greatest example, but actually, we'll do it this way. If I look at something and I decide the distance between here and here is the same as the distance between here and here. I need to make sure on mine is the distance between here and here the same as here and here. I don't know, I'm not double checking, but these are the things that I do to double check my drawings when I'm freehanding as I go to make sure they're accurate. We also have, as a whole, look at how much more rounded. This is more, almost more square, a little bit more than what you've got. Yours is more long. Really much more. So these are the things that we want to watch for to make sure that they're very, very accurate way before you start drawing. When I freehand a drawing, I may spend 10 hours just freehanding a portrait to make sure it's perfect. Because one of the things we often do is think close enough, I'll fix this problem, or I'll fix that problem, or I'll double check that once I start in with the color, or in your case, once I start in with the shading. It's never going to get better. If your foundation drawing is not perfect, it will not improve when you start with the shading or the layering the color. So make sure that that is 100%. You are close. You are very good at drawing. Very, very, very good. But to use some of these tips, checking your work against itself, like the distance, his hand. What is the distance? I usually use a piece of paper. Here's a receipt. A receipt and a pencil. So I'm going to take my receipt, my line, and I know his hand from the wrist to the tip of the fingers. If I just go straight down, should be this big. So I've just taken a piece of paper and I marked here to here. What else is that size? The distance between, so here to here, going straight down, is about the same as here to here. That is almost the exact same. So I would want to go to my artwork and say then, is the distance, now again, the arm's not quite drawn perfect, but we're close. Is the distance between here and here the same as the distance between the hand? Nope, the hand should, if it was the same, would be this big. That's how much too small, because this from here to here should be about the same as here to here. And the way I found that out is checking my work against itself. You do this in the drawing phase, not in the shading phase. Once you start shading, you are just gonna, it's better to start over than to try to continuously fix things. I see people do that all the time where the line drawing isn't good, so they start shading the face. And the eye, they're like, no, the eye's not quite right. So they erase, they keep reworking it, and they keep reworking it, they keep, start over and draw, make sure it's super accurate before you ever get to the shading part. So, Lily, I've got some questions for you. If we have time, we'll come back. I think we might. We'll see. Because I wasn't sure. I don't know if you want to go back, Lily, to yours, because I really wasn't sure what was going on, because the email didn't give me any information. I think it was missing something. Anyway, but that is what I do to double check that everything is where it's supposed to be. So our values, make your reference photo black and white before you start. So that you can get your values better, and make sure that line drawing, you are so good at drawing. Like the fact that you are this close, you are so good. You can be even better though. Imagine if you just change those few things and check your work against itself. Killer. Like it will be so good. So very, very nicely done. Oh, no. And I think you were the second one, Lily. You're probably not watching live, or you're probably watching the beginning though. Okay. Next, we have Teresa. Now, Teresa, this is a painting I did. This was one of our lessons, so you're brave, because you know I know this painting way too well, because it's hanging on my own wall, so it's almost like you're asking for me to nitpick. Oh, but there's nothing to nitpick. Never mind. You gotta make it all perfect. Okay, so this, I believe this was this the photo I took from, I think this was one of my reference photos from our Patreon reference photos. And I've got two, well, we'll just leave it like, actually we'll shrink it. So this is a hyacinth macaw. And we're gonna scooch you over. We're gonna just turn you, because, oh, we'll do it this way. Now, it doesn't really matter which angle yours is. I'm just going to make him match the photo so we can just compare a bit more. So the first thing I noticed, the beak could be a little bit longer, but close enough. That is super nitpicky. This is so, so close to mine that when I looked at it at a glance, I thought you sent me mine. Like, it is that close. Beautiful, beautiful job there. I would probably go a little bit darker on some of the areas in the background, and that is getting nitpicky. I just like more variation in there, but that, again, super nitpicky. Did you say, here's my macaw I did from your 2019 tutorial. I had a hard time getting those feathers down the neck right. But I tried to layer till it looked good. Is that the same photo? I don't even remember. Yeah, no, I do. I don't know. I remember this photo, but I don't know if that was the same photo I did. Was it the same one? I've taken so many photos of hyacinth macaws, I'm confusing myself. So the feathers down the neck. Where is my original? Oh, I don't think it's plugged in. I don't know if I have it anywhere. You did a wonderful job. I'm just trying to think. Do I have on my website? Actually, I probably need to. I'll drink coffee while I find this. The reason is is that the same? I don't think is that the exact same reference photo? I think it's one that was close. I don't remember. I want to see mine real quick. Where's my media library? I don't think it's a big one, but big enough. Yeah. Good enough. Now, on one side, we say don't compare yourself to other artists. Definitely. But in this case, I'm just pulling up the one from the lesson so I could see what she was looking at. So there was my original. Let's get a, whoops, that I just lost. What? Stop hitting the wrong button. Oh, God. I put it on the wrong one, so we're just going to scooch you around, delete you. Okay. Okay, so it was from that. It's just the way that I had it cropped, so it is the same photo. So let's look at my photo and we'll look at the differences. Mine, I airbrushed the background. You did not, so obviously you're going to get a bit of a difference. I would probably still pull a little bit more darks in there because I feel like your bird looks so much more realistic than your background. Your background being just like 2 tones of green. I would like to see more variation in there, more dark green where it's almost black. Maybe not black, but you know, get some black mixed in there. I would just like to see a little bit more variation to make that background look as realistic as you did on the bird. But wonderful job there. So you talked about the feathers on the, let's see, let's move mine over here. The feathers, the direction, they're a little bit less refined. You started off really good, but you didn't quite finish refining the shape. So, oops, that's not the one I need. So we can see how we've got these, actually that's really thick. Okay, see how it's a little bit more defined on the edges? So what I do when I do these paintings, I will usually do it in like, not quite black and white, but I mean, if I remember correctly on this one, I did the base blue colors and then I took a rake brush and you got really good texture in here, but in these ones, these are too soft. It looks to me like you blended them. And there really shouldn't be so much blending. So what I would do at this point, moving forward on this, if you've not varnished it, take some darker colors, like dark blue, black, come right under that highlight. Actually, let's do another layer so I can not mess up your piece. Use the rake brush, but you had a hard time. Next time you're over, I'll do a demo for you, but I have a video showing you exactly how, but I want to see how you're using it. So bring it with you next time you come, or I will use mine. And Teresa's my local friend. She actually, we met because she used to be a student when I was teaching in person. She was one of the last ones I had before I stopped teaching in person. That's how we met. But anyway, moving on. On yours, let me make this a bit bigger. So if you wonder why you're like, wow, you're being weirdly harsh, you're not wording things as nicely as you do on other people. It's because I know her and it's hard. You know, when you know someone in person, it makes it's a little bit different. But anyway, I would take the darker colors, like the dark navies, some black, but start with navy. I'm actually way too dark here. Let us calm that down. I'm going to go a little bit darker. But come through and start defining those edges. And you can do this with a liner brush. You've got it already in there. You can see the direction. Your direction is moving good, but we want more, and this could be a little bit softer. You can do this with a rake brush. You can do this with a liner brush. Either one will work. If I do it with a rake brush, I will always come back through with a liner brush in addition to that to clean up some edges. But see how we can just define those feathers? Now mine are way too harsh the way I'm doing this on yours. We would want them to be softer, yeah, mine's 100% opacity. That's the problem. They would be much softer. But we will also, we can darken some of these areas back here. Why are you not showing? Oh, because they're not black. That is why. We've got those areas. And it's just really coming through and defining things a bit more, making the darks a little bit darker, just pulling out a little bit more definition. That photo is super clear. You can see all of the details in those feathers. Yours looks better than the reference photo. See, you copied the reference photo more than me, I think. Yours is more soft, so yours looks more like the reference photo than mine does. But I want the feathers to be a little bit more defined, and this is just me being nitpicky because this is what I like on the birds. We're going to floof them up a little bit and just pulling a little bit more definition on there with some of the darks. Let's see. You went like me, you pulled more of the oranges in here, which the reference photo doesn't have, and I think it looks nicer with the oranges like you've got. So great job there. I would probably take some lighter colors though. And just on the highlight, oh, that is way too much. Drop that opacity down. I would pull some of the highlights out a little bit more on some of these so it's not quite so soft. Just defining a little bit in there. And you don't need a lot. Like just that little bit starts to define things a whole lot more. The beak looks wonderful. I went harsher with the blues and such and the lines on it just because I like that harsh look, but yours, I mean, you look more like the reference photo. Wonderful job there. We're missing, so here, this is something you want to make sure you get. See how right now you've got just blue and beak. We're missing where his nose would be. We would actually have a nostril in here, so we at least want shadows or the hint of this section. I just have a hint in mind. You don't need a lot, but you do want, see this skin? His nose is in that little chunk. So I would add that. Your eyes look, I like your eyes better than in the reference photo. You did such a good job. Yeah, just I would do a little, and see, I keep saying I would do because yours is closer to the reference photo than mine. But I like mine better than the reference photo because I took the reference photo and the artwork, so I feel like I can overly judge my own. But that's just, you know, personal preference there. But I think you did a wonderful job. I would, and if it were me and I was going to go back and do some changes, I would just glaze a few darker areas on the background. Now, I would do that separate from the bird. If you varnished it, it's beautiful as it is. It is done. You're fine. Don't worry about it. But if you didn't and you did want to keep working on this, then I would probably glaze a little bit more in the background, not everywhere. Like I would do a fine mist sprayer and add a little bit of a glaze like the dark greeny black color and use your mop brush to don't use a lot of water with fine mist sprayer because you'll make a mess. But glaze over that, kind of, you know, play around with getting some form in the background. If it were mine, if you like the brighter green, it is fine. That is fine. That you could have a background that natural, that bright green. That is up to you. I like the darker ones. That's personal preference there. But what I would do is if I did that, when I blended, it would get green on the bird. But because I know what paint you're using, the Liquid Basics, you would have no problem. Then take a damp paper towel or a wet paintbrush and just wipe off any of the green that you glazed into the bird. Just do that before it dries. And then go through and do details on that. But I would do a little bit more. And again, being super nitpicky because, well, one, I know Teresa in person. Two, it was one of our lessons. See, I get extra picky when it's one I've done. Okay. see. Lily had company. What? You got to see people? I never see people. Next we have Tim. Let's save. With no information. Tim. There's no information on this. It's cute. So what we are going to do, I think this is colored pencil. Is this the only message I have from Tim? Yeah. Okay, so let's pull this up, and I'm going to have to go find a reference photo. But the first things we'll talk about here, so super cute. This is what I would think for like a sketchbook, a quick drawing, just to kind of warm up, but not a complete project. You can draw very well, which tells me you can do even more. So if you're following me, I'm guessing you want realism. So let's talk about, let's get, oops. Let's see if I can find one of these guys in a similar position, and we'll use that as an example. It looks like it right here. I always love, like when I tell you guys like, oh, you can draw well, I'm not saying that to just be like, here's some fluffy words. That's an important part. When you can draw, I know that you have you're already, anybody has the ability to get really good. But when you already can draw this well, I know it's not going to take that much for you to improve, to like take your work to completely the next level. So your first drawing here reminds me of kind of what I was doing when I started doing pet portraits. I was doing looser sketches, lightly shading and coloring them, nothing crazy, mostly in graphite, nothing that crazy. I mean, I could draw, like you can clearly draw, but it wasn't super realistic. And I remember looking through it with somebody who was working in pastels at the time, and it was, her work looked like a photograph. And I remember seeing that going, okay, I want mine to look like that. What do I need to do different to make mine go from what I currently do? I mean, I knew I could draw, but how do I make it look like a photograph? So I really studied her work, and I realized I need to put more time into it. So I used to spend about 45 minutes on a quick, sketch of an Italian Greyhound. That's mainly what I was doing at the time, of an Italian Greyhound. And I took it from that, 8 hours. What happens if I spend 8 hours? Night and day difference. You would never know it was the same artist. I had the skill, I was not putting in the time, and that's what I want to see you do. Put in more time. Look at the details on this. I mean, this is, let's zoom in on the face. Look at the actual, like, where the mouth is located, the little corner thing down here, technical term, corner thing. I'm guessing the mouth. We've got these little guys that stick out. Let's get a color that we can actually see. Look at the details in those shapes. There's so much in there. The antennas, how we go from where light, we get darker, lighter white. Not just one color. What you have is a cartoon sketch. What you have the ability to do, let's say you spent an hour on this. I want you to spend 10 hours on the same thing. Spend more time. Make sure your drawing is very accurate. On something like this, close is probably close enough. Not that many people are going to notice if you're a little bit off. Well, I don't know. If somebody who likes mantis would be your most likely buyer, so they're going to want it to be as accurate as possible. But look at where your lights and darks are. Like, look at here, the brown. It goes from black, it shades up into these brown tones before it hits the green, and then you've got a lighter green, and then you've got a medium green, and then you've got a really dark green. There's so much variation in there, and that is what we want to capture, all that little detail. We're missing legs. I'd like to see more legs on there. Another thing I can see is your eraser mark. See your line there? I'm choking on my own spit because I'm a classy lady. You've got eraser marks all over the place. Draw your initial sketch on one piece of paper. Get it drawn perfectly, or trace it, whatever you want to go with, and then take tracing paper and trace your drawing. Then use transfer paper to transfer that onto your final paper. That way, you should never be able to see somebody's eraser marks like that. If you can, it gives it a much more amateur look. If you want it to look really crisp, really clean, we've got, is this my screen dirty or is this the artwork. Nope, the artwork is dirty. Hard to say here. We've got like marks all over the place, and you can avoid that by doing all your erasing on a separate piece of paper out. You're sketching and then draw it cleanly onto one piece of paper, transfer it onto the next. But like this doesn't have any shading. This is, you know, kind of more coloring book style. But if you can draw this well, you can take it to that next level and make it super realistic. And the main tip there, slow down and copy everything you see. Did it get darker here? Make yours darker. Is it lighter there? Look at it as abstract shapes. Everything is solid green, solid, like very loose, very quick. Wonderful for a quick practice sketch. But let's take it back, take it further now. Let's go more realistic, and that's going to require a lot more time. Slow down. I would say, let's say, you know, you got it done in an evening. You need to spend several evenings. So I said, you know, put 10 hours into it over several evenings. Don't try to get it done in one night. You're not going to be happy with it. Instead, start with the face. Just all you have to worry about tonight is getting that face done. If you have more time and you get more done, great. But all you are focused on is getting that face perfect and exactly like your reference. It is going to take your work to a completely other level, which I can tell you can do, because if you can draw this, you can do that, but you've got to slow down and put a bit more time into noticing everything. So yeah, that is my biggest tip for you. It will make such a difference in your work. Slow down. Okay, next. We've got Beth, some M&Ms. Oh, it makes me want M&Ms. Although I do have cinnamon, honey, crispy things, like cookies, I guess, kinda, for after the live stream. I'm quite excited about. So, you know, I've got something fun for later. It's not M&Ms though. M&Ms would be better. Let's see. So here is our reference. Oh, that looks so good. Your highlights, your contrast, really nice. Let's look at what you said. I was going for realism. I did this using Faber-Castell Polychromos and Derwent Lightfast pencils. Is this Canson Me? What paper is this? Okay, so my advice is basically going to be the same as the last one. Slow down. So if you're going for realism, you've got it good. I mean, obviously it looks great, but this is very similar to the last, just in that, I mean, you've obviously done more shading and such, so I don't want to, it's not that similar to the last. But if you, my advice is similar to the last, that's what I mean to say. Slow down. See how I can see everywhere where you change directions with the pencils? We're here, we kind of were curling that way. I can see lines. Stop it. I don't want to ever see lines where the pencil changed direction like that, unless you're doing it intentionally, like trying to create a wood grain. This needs more color on it. It's good for a base layer. It looks almost like the rough side of Canson Me 10s. I could be wrong on that. It doesn't say. More layers. And get to where those final layers are where I like to start burnishing, and really getting, you know, pushing harder after you've got several layers in there. I'd like to see that be a lot more rich. It looks faded. That's the word I'm going for. It looks faded because there's not enough pigment on the paper. More layers is my solution here. It's really, really cool. We don't have a lot of the shading. So like here, he's just solid yellow, but look at what we really want. Let's pull this guy up here. Look at on the M&M guy. So here's your darkest area on the M&M. That's what it should actually be. We're missing a lot of the shading, so we need more pigment on some of this to make, like when you're really going for a lot of realism. But look at how it's much darker. And actually, look at this. That has a lot of caput mortuum in there too. That has a very reddish tone to those browns. At least, and that's just the lighting and because of the reflection, so that you could go different. But the contrast, there's that peanut. You've got the orangey tone, but it's way lighter. The bag, yours is way lighter. On most everything, yours is a lot lighter. So if you could darken up, look at the shadow on the eye. We've got to get that blue in there. Yours is just white. So if we can get more shading, we've got the darkest part of the red, and then we've got a lighter part, and then we've got the highlight. whereas on yours we've just got two, you know, mainly two. The orange one, we've got, the orange is actually red on the darkest part of the orange, whereas yours is a lighter. So you can see what I mean, like the areas that I'm pinpointing and pointing out that need to be a lot darker. This isn't white, that's blue. Or, you know, it's got a cool, a very light blue. It's not just white though. What you want to do is save the white for the shiniest highlights. If you're making everything that, yes, technically on the wrapper, like if that was made into a poster, it would be white. But this isn't a poster of the M&Ms or the pack, you know, their logo. This is an actual wrapper that's going to be reflecting all the colors around it. So it's not going to be white except for the brightest shiny highlights. The white is reflecting the blues in the room. You've got to tone that down a lot. We're missing all of our wrinkles. Look at the wrinkles in here. Oops. In the bag, we've got these definite wrinkles all over. And then here's our brightest highlight is in there. Those are the things that we want to look at when you're trying to get things more realistic. Same thing as I was talking about last time, the last critique. Slow down. Let's say you spent 10 hours on, I know this one was a lot longer than a 45-minute project. Let's say you spent 10 hours, then spend 20. Spend more time, slow down, and really pay attention to that. Like, because this is white already, we can't go lighter. We can't make those shine marks because it's already white. Instead, we've got to get it this darker blue. I mean, that is a lot. Look at that. It is a grayish blue. Here, now, I keep saying blue. Be careful. Don't just go get a blue pencil and fill it in solid blue. That's not right either. It is a gray. It's really more of a cool gray. I mean, technically a bluish one, but you know, a cool gray is probably what I would choose there myself. But that way you can, and then we've got even darker under the shadow. But if we don't have those white areas that are really reflective, if we don't have them dark enough, we can't make the shiny spots. Now it doesn't look shiny. Now it doesn't look as real as it could if we were paying a bit more attention to those. And you're off to a great start. Like nothing on this is bad. It's just not finished. The drawing is fine. I'm not seeing anything that you like really have to fix this or fix that. I want to see more. You need more shadows. Almost everything is too light, so your bright highlights don't stand out at all. Nothing looks shiny like it could. I mean, look at all these abstract, you got some of those abstract shapes up in these areas. So you started it, you see it, you're noticing it. But because your darks are not dark enough, they don't look shiny at all. They just don't stand out enough. So yeah, spend more time is my main thing on this, and focus on making everything as dark as it needs to go. But you've got this, and this is one, I think you're at a place on this one. This is not a situation of start from scratch and do those tips. This is take what you have now and do those tips on, you know, work on top of what you've already got. You've already got the hard work done. This is the fun part of correcting the color that makes everything look so realistic. Look at these shadows. Look in this. So if our yellow is that dark, and then we've got to go, you know, that much darker in those shadows. You've got some of them. Some of these off to the side, the stripes look pretty good, but push that more. Okay. I love the stage it's at because you've got all the hard part is done. Now it's the fun stuff of making it really come to life. Okay, we have from Pat. Pelicans in colored pencil on Duralar drafting film. I am not a pro at drafting film. I did one thing on it. It was fun, but I am not a pro. My own reference photo taken on the Sebastian River, Sebastian, Florida. Unicorn, Pat, AKA Unicorn Art. So let's get these guys over here. So we've got our reference photo. Let's shrink you down a bit. This is really pretty. Too small. Go a little bit bigger. Okay. I would definitely like to see more color in the water. I think that light blue is just, I think it would stand out so much more if your darks were a bit darker. Did you finish it? Oh, right. Drafting film. That makes things difficult. Drafting film, everything. I had that problem. My drafting film stuff, things were coming out really light. This is beautiful. The wings, the feathers look so good. I would like to see the darks on both birds a bit darker. Like the black's a lot blacker. The highlights, I think, are wonderful. We need more. So the blue, I would like to see all of these shapes. You started putting in those shapes, and they're great. But look at how dark that needs to be. Right now, yours is more of a light gray versus the really dark. Let's pull this up. You talking, Tuna? I hear you over there. Hold on. You want to come out and fly French fries with me, so I think you're safe to fly around. Come on. When he's singing at night, he wants to come out and fly. There you go. Your door's open. I don't see French fry moving, so I don't think he's likely to bite your legs. Okay. So here, look at, oops. Pay attention. Look at the color, that gray, how dark that is. You can see in the little box here versus this one is so pale. I would like to see that be a lot darker. The blue, same thing. We've got a much darker color. That one's just a really faded gray. Your light and your dark is almost the same. Like there's not a lot of difference in values there. So I would like to see those be a little bit darker. I love your reflection. Gosh, there's so much that's so amazing in here. But yeah, I'd like to go see a little bit darker on if the drafting paper will take it. I had a hard time getting my darks dark enough. But if you can get some of these darks a little bit darker, it'll make the lights look that much lighter. The other thing is, look at this area here. Look at the shadow. We want to get the reflection of the blue in that area, or the reflection of the water there, up on the birds a little bit more. So these areas could have more, like pulling that watercolor would be pulled up there. But again, the water would also want to be more blue. We've got purple in here, which doesn't make any sense to me. I would not go with the purple. It doesn't really go with anything else in there. So I would definitely go more of that grayish blue and blue. So you get those silvery colors, I think would look wonderful, and then make the darks a little bit darker. But your feathers look so good. The texture, the direction of the feathers, you did a wonderful job. Working on the backside makes it darker. Yeah, you can go on the reverse and darken it, like take your dark pencil and it'll make it a lot darker on that. Yeah, there are a lot of tricks to getting good with drafting film. Like I said, I did it once. I played around with it. I was fascinated because it has so much possibility, but like I said, one time does not make me a pro. So I can only give so much advice there. But Teresa's absolutely right with that. Working on the back, because you can work on both sides since it's translucent. So both, like, come back on the back side to darken up the layers underneath, which is kind of cool because it's similar to working digitally where you can do that in layers. So definitely some cool things about drafting paper. But yeah, I would like to see the darks or the blue of the water a little bit more. It almost feels like it's as white as as white paper, so it feels a bit unfinished to me. Now, a solution to that might have been not to fill anything in. So the other option, I mean, it's already filled in, so I would just go ahead and go darker. But the other option, if you didn't want that background and you wanted to leave the water, the light part of the water white, you could have done that too. It would still need some of the ripples. The blue and the purple, this level of blue, this is too blue. That you want to tone down and make it a little bit more neutral, because you've only got that blue in these three places and it does not make sense. And then we've got purple. I don't know where, like, purple doesn't make sense in either. This is just such a neutral. It's really just the two colors with a couple of four. So we've got light blue, lighter blue, grayish, the darker gray, and a slightly darker gray. So we don't have a lot of colors in that water, but I would go with those more than the blue and the purple. And again, if you went with blue and purple, it would be okay if you ran with it and put it everywhere. Not that I think that's the best choice for this piece, so I'm glad that you didn't. But yeah, either leave the lighter blue part white everywhere would have worked, but being that you've already got the blue, I would lean more into that and make it more, like, just make it stand out more. Go a bit darker on those blues. More like what you see in that reference photo. I really like that about the reference photo. Now, you don't need to make all of those ripples, and you don't need to make all of the darks that dark, but I would make the light blue, and it's a bluish gray, so I keep saying light blue. This is one of the things that a lot of people will do. They look at a sky and they go, okay, skies are blue, they're blue, grab a blue pencil. But that's too blue. Normally, it's really more muted. It's more of a grayish blue, so like we're seeing here. So even though I'm saying blue, what I'm really saying is cool gray. That is, look at right here where that color is. This is our lightest blue there. That is not blue blue. It's like a silver. It's not blue. So I keep saying blue, but don't, and while technically it is blue, kind of a blue-gray, don't just go grab primary blue. That I think is going to be too bold and it would ruin the piece. We don't want to do that. These are gray tones, really, for the background. But they make more sense than just random blue. Like these are blue blue, and that's why I think that it looks like you started it and went, too much. So yeah, it's just those colors are not working with the rest of the piece because they really aren't anywhere else. Now your reflection with this olivey green and the darks, oh, it's freaking beautiful. So pretty. I would just finish up the background water. But wonderful, wonderful piece. Really good. You took the reference photo too, so that's even more. There's just something about when you take your own reference photo. I don't know if you guys do this, but I'm always so much more proud of my work when it was my photo. Like every bit of this was mine. So really, really nice. Only a couple more here. Lily, if you are still here and you have comments, I can talk more about yours. Oh. Wait, no, it's not the same. Wait, what? That was Pat's. Okay. We have two. Pat had submitted again and also said, I forgot to add more info. This is completed artwork. This is critique only. The color of the water was changed to give more of a minimalistic tropical feel. Okay, sorry, Pat. I didn't see that came in a separate email. I just got that one right now. Yeah, I can see doing that. I can certainly see, when you said this is the finished, is that the same? Yeah, that was the same one. I would probably, to give it the more minimalistic look, I see where you're going with it though. Let's pull that back up really quick. I want to look at that again now that I've got, and once you get more information, it often will change stuff. Now, I still don't think I would put the, oh, this one's still up. This blue is standing out too much to me. The blue and the purple aren't fitting with everything else. Like, that doesn't fit with this grayish blue that we've got in the background. So I see why you wanted it to go more minimalistic, and I probably would just have left the white of the paper, well, clear of the paper, because whatever, my brain gone. It is gone. So I see what you wanted, a more minimalistic look. And I think that that's fine. If I were to do that again, I would probably just leave the light blue areas, just leave it white, and then have a few of the lighter ripples. So, okay. And the last of these submissions, yeah. Oops. Where did it go? I just lost my, there we are. And then we'll go back to Lily. We've got from Audrey, who said, hi Lisa, this is a 9x12 colored pencil drawing. I can't seem to get the fluffy feathers to look right. Can you tell, and can you tell me what I've done wrong with the water? It doesn't look like it's behind, but more on top of them. Thank you so much. I agree with you 1000% about those solar panels. I read about solar panels last night. You know about solar panels. I want everyone to know about solar panels because, and why it's a scam. Those companies are horrible that put them in, and hopefully someday that will be good, but they are not good right now. Okay, anyway. Let's pull this in. We've got our... Okay, so we've got our reference photo. Oh, I like that though. I like the darker colors, but it almost is too much contrast, and it is pulling attention right away from those flamingos. The water in the foreground is so boxy looking, and part of it is that reflection is boxy looking. That's a tough reflection. I do reflection in water a lot, it's not that it's not gorgeous, but if you look at that reflection and you want it to look like that, you are going to be spending more time on that reflection to make it look good, I think, than on the flamingos. That is, it needs more time. It's too overly simplified, and it's making it look really boxy. If we look at the reference photo, look at these lights that we have in there. All of these light areas that need to be, you've got a few of those, but a lot more, and then the darks aren't this dark. As much as I like contrast, what I would have done differently is kept it really dark right here behind them, and as we moved both directions, I would have lightened it up a lot. Now, not necessarily this bright leaf green. I would probably keep it more of an olive green, or I don't know, play with some different ideas there. But I would have lightened that up. I think because it's so black, you're getting a very abstract feel that, like if I just saw that bottom, water is not what I would think that is at all. Like, kind of don't think that's what it is on the reference photo either. But the reference photo is a little bit more obvious because of the colors, the way the water is rippling. You did a good job. That is a rough reflection to get right. So basically it needs a lot of time, a lot more time. And then let's see. What am I doing? New. Oh, is my mouse working yet? Layer. New. Yes. Kinda. Okay. This water needs so much more detailing. The ripples coming this way, you've got the ripples coming around. So this is actually, it'd be more like this. I'm going right over the flamingo, but these ripples would just kind of continue. Not in a spiral like I'm doing, but you've got so many more, and as these pull out, you've got more ripples that continue that way on top of the reflections this way. That is a very complicated reflection thing, and it's going to be really hard to make look realistic because it looks so weird in the photo. I like some things about this photo, but that is definitely going. I do reflections a lot. I'm telling you, that would be hard to make look good for me. That would take so long to get right because it's almost like they're too squished together. So it makes it really, really rough. I love the olive greens and the black, so I do like that. But like I said, I would be darkening up. Oh, probably make my life easier and just erase that. Nope, that is not making it easier because I don't have my eraser set properly. Oh, Lord, what the heck am I? Do I not have a layer on that? Apparently I didn't have a layer on that. Okay, well, there we go. I probably put a layer on the other one because that's what I've been doing all night. Anyway, I think if you can lighten that up and get a little bit of a fade, it's very flat. The birds don't feel enough like they're a part of the scene. I see what you mean, like it feels like the background is on top of them. Also, layering some feathers. Oh, look, I could probably do this now. New layer. Hey, and I think it's on the right one. Am I on the right one? I am on the right one. You can pull a few of those feathers out. Let it overlap a little bit more wispy. That can help. It also would need, so you've got, the flamingos need a lot more darks if your background is that dark. There still is light, the light colors like you see in your lighter background in the reference photo, but because yours, you darken the reference photo, you got to darken the flamingo. You need them to match that light, like how light it is. So that would be one. You've got, like, and if you look at this one, see how we've got these dark, like this whole area right there where you've got those really nice, the dark shadows under them. You can't have that because yours is so dark already. So I would not go as dark as what you've got there. And then again, that contrast between the light pink and the black looks too abstract. It doesn't feel like water, and a lot of that is just the black up against the white along with the movement of the water. Yeah, you'd have to put a lot of time to get that right. Let's look at the legs. This leg needs to be way darker in order to look like it's set back. Same thing, this one needs to be darker so it's set back. These are weird because it looks like they're standing like this when it should look like this. Make this one look further back by darkening it up a lot more. You've got it darker, but a lot more. We're missing, so a lot of these feathers too, we're missing the, let's go, I'm going to go a little bit lighter just to make the point so it shows up. But we've got to get, look at how these feathers, the way they move, you've got little guys in here. What size did you say this was? 9 by 12 colored pencil drawing. So that does make it, it's not huge. So that's hard for how, you're only going to get so much detail when you work this size and you're putting this much work into it. But we're missing all of these light, like the feather texture in here where we don't have some of the highlights in here. This can be a lot, like our highlights, we've got this section, and I'm being super sloppy, but you get the point. Highlight up here, highlight on the cheek here. Oh, it looks like he's wearing a hat. I overdid my highlight. Let's soften that out some. Not that much. What are you doing? We'll just calm that down. Maybe a little bit more. Oh, God, that's way lower than I thought it was. Okay, but just adding a little bit more on top of that is going to help, but you can also pull. So let's say we're going to go that dark. We need to pull some of those darks from the water into these birds. So wherever you've got those shadows, let's... Oh, right, that doesn't do what I want it to do anymore. Let's start pulling some of that same shadow color and start making them feel like they're a part of that scene. A lot more than what you've got now. So whenever you're changing the background, you've got to change that light so that they feel like they're going together, the coloring and the shadows. Again, super rushing that, but it'll help make them feel more like they're in that scene. So we've got highlights and shadows. They need both of. This head, that's a hard angle to make look good. So it's just a weird angle. It's going to look flat, but you can still put more shadows and highlights to help with it on this head right here. More time. It needs to get that water, sharp pencils, and like look at all of the transition of color, of lights and darks. There's so much in that reference photo. And yours is basically highlight and mid pink and nothing else. And you would need all of that along with additional ripples to make that scene. That's not an easy scene. You did a really good job with it in making it look good. But those few changes, pull out some more highlights and shadows on the flamingos, pull some of the background color into the flamingos, and you can do this on top. You don't have to start over. You can do it on what you have now. But come through and get those highlights, and like a lot more white, a lot more mid-tones. Or darker tones. Like see these darker right in here, these brownish tones, get more of those in there. Okay, so now let's go back to Lily. We're at 10:07, so we'll just wrap up with this. Okay, that's right, there were Lily's. So let's start for the fish. Let's start with those. Let's see what she had to say. She said, the bluegill fish is my pans on pastel matte and colored pencil. Reference was a fish I caught and had had in a white bucket to photograph. It was lost on making it look like, I was lost on making it look like the water, like bubbles, the bubbles effect. Okay, so what I would do in that case, so, geez, you did a good job then. Look up more photos of bluegills to make sure, like I get that you're using your reference photo, but you're going to need to find more photos to have them in different angles and make sure it's right. Because like this guy right here, this one is so amazingly like that looks so good. This one has some, like there's some anatomy problems going on in the face. So it doesn't match the other fish. So that is like, even though I know you were going from the one photo, that would be, go look up other photos of bluegills to compare. And then, let me see if I can find any artists that have done these guys in water. We'll look at some other artists. I'm just scrolling through really quick. Basically, anytime you want a fish to look like it's in water, whatever color the watercolor is, has to be pulled more into the fish itself, which you did a lot of. But like this greenish color, so you took the photos in a white bucket, so you're seeing the pure, true color of the fish. But when they're in water, they're going to, you want to pull this color would come into everything more. Onto the fins, the white highlights, or really they're more cream highlights, they wouldn't be that white. They would be more of a very, very light version of this blue, the teal color. I'm looking for, there are actually, I have a harder time finding good photos. There are not that many artists I see that do good freshwater, underwater stuff. Marine stuff I see more, but freshwater, it is, so I always say, you know, go look at other artists and compare what they're doing, but it is really hard to find. This is an example, and I don't know, let's see if I can find who this is. This almost looks AI. Is it? Oh, and it just went to something else. Wait. Download, redraw. I don't know what this is, but it does show a really good example. So let me see if this will show up over here, or if this is only showing. Does that show? Yeah, you guys can see it. So if we look at the water here, obviously I'm not going to draw on it, but the fish, as it's farther back, it's more the same color as the water. Not that this is the best, most realistic painting of the world, though in the world, I almost think it's, is this digital or AI? I don't know what this is. There's a signature on it. I don't know what this is. It's called redraw, fish underwater redraw. I don't know what this is. But it does show the example of what I'm talking about. See the fish in the background, how they fade out. They get more and more the color of the background water. The closer to the viewer, the more pure that color is going to be, meaning the same color the fish was in the bucket, the white bucket, like where you don't have deep water. That's where the fish up close are going to be that pure color. The fish, as you move back, get more and more close to the color of the background water, less contrast, more faded looking. So that is kind of an example of what I'm talking about. You can still see here too, look at how the background, the wood in the background, this is what I was talking about with those leaves, where it's just a darker version of the background, so it's like a shadow of leaves in the background, and it'll help make the background water look, let's get that back up there, look even deeper. Like it looks like it keeps going because you get more and more of those dark, like shadow. I say shadows, they're not the shadows. It just kind of looks like that. Like it's a darker version of the water for just the hints of the grass in the background. It will add so much more depth. Your colors, the fading here into the sand, again, I love that. I would pull more of your blue, green colors into the branch. So while, where's my mouse? This area here, that I would, what is going on here? What have I done? Here. Okay, so here I would leave it the bright, that pure color, like I was saying, the color it would look in a bucket. But as you move away from the viewer, that branch would get a little bit more dim, a little bit like more of your background watercolor would start pulling into that, and it'll help it look like it's going back. Like this wouldn't be quite as light as up here because you're farther away, like more, the water's thicker, so it's like having more layers of the blue. The fish back here, you did make it darker, so that is closer. Same here. But these guys all here, the anatomy for sure, like I'm going to keep complaining about that, but yeah, I would probably pull more. If this were my piece, these three fish, I would probably have pulled more of the blue colors, like pushed them back a little bit and made this one a little bit bigger, pulled it forward and left it bright. I think this fish here is the showstopper. Like that is the, I think that the angle is so good. So this is a problem that so many people have when they draw fish. They draw all of them sideways because most of the photos we see of fish, they're sideways. You've got to get the front ones like you've done here, and I like to make those ones look like they're coming out at the viewer. And I think him, I would have pulled up, I like made him like bigger and really in your face, and those pure colors, the colors it was in the bucket, and then made the other fish, just push them back a little bit smaller and push those back. So those are my tips on that one. Yeah, you made it up. You did a freaking amazing job. You made this up. My God, this is... No, see, this is why I need more information, because now I'm looking at this going, holy crap, now I'm really impressed. Good job. Let's see, if you had the flower and the bees, so let's pull that up. Wait, did you say more on this one? Looking for input on doing the three colors painting. Do they need water reflection on the fish like you would put on a shark? They can. God, who is the artist? There's a guy who does freshwater stuff. I can't think of his name, and it's so good. There are not, oh, I don't do a lot of freshwater stuff because I can never find photos. But he's on my Facebook page. I think I follow him there. But find artists who do freshwater realistic, and they're harder to find. I don't see them as often, or maybe I'm just not coming across them. But they can have reflections. I mean, any fish that's underwater, you might have the way the light bounces through. It depends on how much rippling you've got and how the water surface is going and how the light's hitting that. It will affect what the ripples might look like on the fish or on the bottom of the water. So, let's see. And then we had the other one was this and this. Okay. So you said if you had the flower and bees, it was acrylic. Exercising using yellow, blue, and red, white, and black, and not being able to make the colors. Wait, they wouldn't let you make the colors? What? Both are blue, yellow, red, but use different ones on each. Just looking for input on doing the 3-color only painting. Wait. Huh? I mean, 3 colors is no different than any other way of painting. You're just going to mix whatever colors you need together. So I'm really not sure. I'm still not reading that right, and it may be my whole fibro brain thing I've got going on at the moment. I'm not processing correctly. Like I'm glitching as bad as my camera right now. Color cools and warms. He said exercising using base yellow, white, and black, and not being able to make the color. Your challenge was that you couldn't make the colors, or you weren't supposed to make the color. I'm not reading that correctly. I'm so sorry. And it's the end of, so over 2 hours, so I apologize. My brain is definitely fried. Oh, it's fried from the beginning. Right one would not make purples. Right or left? God. Right one would not. You wouldn't make purples? I need more words. Explain better to me. My brain is fried. The color harmony in the right one is better, except for those flowers feel like they need a glaze of color of something. I'm just waiting because I have a feeling you're typing. Am I driving you crazy right now with my brain being like, I don't get it. It is not computing. Definitely still, so far my advice is still the same as what it originally was. Painting with 3 colors, as long as, I don't mind painting with 3 colors. I've done paintings like that, but like I was saying before, they've got to be the colors, the right blue, the right red, that when you mix them together, you can actually get purple. Let's see, the right one, the blue and the red used would not make, okay. Yeah, it's probably the red and the blue that you were using. I have dealt with that. I wanted to do a painting. I don't remember if it was a live stream. It was so long ago. I don't remember things. But yeah, it just, what blue, red, and yellow? God, which ones did I like? I'm trying to think which ones. Let me get back to you on that because I can't think of it off the top of my head because I don't do it often and I don't pay attention to what colors I'm grabbing. So I just grab a color and I'm like, yeah, that one looks like, that red will work well with blue. Let me get back to you on that because it basically, if you're red, the red that you use, you don't want a red that has an orange tint to it. So a lot of the reds, like cadmium red, I want to say medium or light, they're like super orange, like they've got this orange undertone. If it has an orange undertone and you mix that with any blues, you're going to get a more brownish tone, like a muddy brown with a slight purple tint, but it's not purple. It needs to be a red that leans cooler. That's not, and again, so when I say leans cool, depending on what person teaching color theory you're talking to, they'll be like, no, that red is warm, that one is cool. So the way that I'm wording it may not mesh with the way they're wording it because a lot of people do what I do where I'm like, if the closer to yellow, the warmer it is. The closer to blue, the cooler it is. And that is not how color theory gets more confusing than that, but that is like the most simplistic way. So when I say warm or cool, don't mix that up with somebody who's teaching color theory. You get more into, this is a warm red, this is a cool red. That is a much different situation. So anyway, that I don't want to confuse what you're learning from an actual thing. But I don't remember the colors that I used when I've done the 3-color one. But the reds, you want a red that is like red, not an orangey red. Just red. If there is any orange undertone, that is going to give you a much more muted color, because again, orange with blue, those are complementary colors that mean brownish. You know, they neutralize each other, and that's not what you're going for when you're trying to make a purple. I usually, God, which color do I use? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Surprise, because I can't think of anything tonight. I will get back to you. Yeah, the Quidonkadonk red or whatever it is, any of those are going to be that cooler. Like they have a purplish tint already, so it's very easy to get a purpley pink with them. So that's why. But any of them, when you get into the warmer, like they look like you've mixed orange in with them. Any of that, you even start leaning that direction, you're not going to get that pure purple that you would with the ones that are already leaning towards purple, if that makes sense. So that would make sense. And it's not that you can't get a cool color. They still will work. I can't remember off the top of my head, vermilion, which one that is. I'd have to go look at it. And here's another thing. Sometimes different brands are not exactly the same, depending on the pigments they use and how expensive the pigment. I've seen some where you're like, that one said it was Quidonkadonk red. We all know I can't say that one right. And it doesn't look anything like this one that says the same thing. So that can make a bit of a difference too. But I will look at mine and get back to you. I'll probably mention it on, if I remember, I'm not going to remember, in Discord. Also, Lily, I totally forgot about it until recently. What was it we were doing with rabbit photos? I need to go look those up. I don't even remember. I think that was before I broke my foot, and I have completely forgotten what it is we were planning on doing with, was I going to edit the photos or show you how to get good photos? What? I think it was how to get good photos. I was thinking about that the other day. It hit me. I'm like, wait, weren't we supposed to do something with bunny photos? Because I was looking for other rabbit photos, and it got me remembering that. But anyway, that's totally off topic. So I hope this helped you guys. And again, see, color theory gets so, the thing that I don't like about it and why I've never gotten into teaching it is I feel like it makes things harder for people. I don't feel like most artists, when you're getting started, I'm not saying it's not good or not useful, but especially, I feel like it overcomplicates things in a way that if you just look at something and not everyone can do it. So let's use as an example, rule of thirds. Some artists just have a good eye for balance. I've always had an eye for balance, not like personal humble brag or whatever, but I've got a good eye for balance. I don't need the rule of thirds, but I will check myself with the rule of thirds, where I put it back on the piece to see if I'm balancing things out, or if sometimes I'm like, is this balanced? Let's throw the rule of thirds on there and check. Now, there are different ways that you can come up with composition, but it's not something that you have to do. But if there are people who will never have a good eye for balance. There was a lady I knew, she could paint so well, she had no eye for balance. If she didn't follow the rule of thirds, she was going to have a fit. Like, it was just not right in her eye. Like, she couldn't see where there would be balance. So she was so focused on that. I'd say most artists have good taste, and having a general understanding of cool and warm is enough to do good work. And I feel like the way that so many books I've read, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn more about this. And I read these books and I'm like, you are overcomplicating this to such a degree that it's going to make it so much harder for somebody to paint well. Like, this is not helpful. So just be, if you get to the point, if it's helping you, great. But depending on what book you're reading, or if you're taking a class, whatever it is, depending on that, it may be worded in a way that makes you almost undo. Don't not trust your taste, I guess is where I'm going with that. Because you can get to a point where those colors don't look good together. But you're looking at the theory and the math behind it, and this should go with this, but it doesn't look good. Trust yourself on some of that. Because I think that the sciencey part, and I keep saying sciencey part, but I feel like it definitely can pull you away from trusting your own good taste. And especially you, Lily, you've got good taste. Yeah, I've seen your work, and it kind of surprised me when I saw this. Not that this is bad. I'm not trying to make it sound like this is bad. I'm just saying I normally don't see you struggle with color in your work. I mean, yeah, we can cool things down or warm things up, very simplified. But I've never seen anything with yours where I was like, oh, that is clashing. What, that is really, I've never seen you do that. So watch just watch that the color theory doesn't pull you away from trusting when you look at something and go, I like this, I don't like this. Because as an artist, that simplified really does matter. And I'm not saying color theory doesn't matter. Color theory is helpful, but also you have to balance the color theory and trusting your own taste, I guess. So, and also I love that you are trying other things. So I feel like I'm also almost contradicting myself and like, don't try new things. Don't just do what you've always done. I'm not saying that at all, but don't let it frustrate you, because it does get so like, I've just seen it hold people back, I guess is where I'm going with this. Lily said I didn't like this. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with learning color theory. There are some huge benefits to understanding the basics of color theory, for sure. And it's not just color theory. I see it a lot. I see it mostly in color theory books, because I used to always look through the books. People would ask me what books I would recommend, and I'm thinking, oh, great, if I go find a book, I can recommend this, and now I can give you my Amazon affiliate link. This will be great. And I will go to a store and look through books, and especially on color theory, but looking through books, and oh my God, I'm like, this is gonna undo what people know how to do. This makes it so much more complicated than it needs to be. And it's so, working in person with students, I've seen how easily people get frustrated, and you throw that into the mix, and I'm like, oh, they're just going to give up. They're going to be so annoyed with this, they're going to give up. That's why there are not a lot of books out there that I've seen that I'm like, oh, this is a good one, I would recommend this for people, because I feel like, I don't know, maybe they're just the personality type that writes a book, most of them overcomplicate things to where it's like impossible for somebody to learn, or not impossible, but it makes it much more difficult. There are a couple of people who I think write books that are phenomenal, but there's not a lot of them out there. Maybe one of these days I'll go to a bookstore and look through and see if I can find anything else good. I haven't looked in years, but I swear I see that all the time. And the same thing with color theory, because I've gotten into that where I'm like, okay, I want to learn something new. I want to master this, and I start reading these books. I'm like, you are taking something that is really very simple, warm, cool, very simple, and making it so freaking complicated that the student, if I go and try to teach this to a student, the student is going to be frustrated, and they are not going to come back to my class because they're not going to be happy with what they're producing, because you have made it harder than it needed to be. So I guess that's where I'm going with that. And I've just see that's the problem I have, and why you don't see me teaching a lot with color theory, because it overcomplicates things so much. Warm and cool, I go super simple. Closer to blue, I consider cool. Closer to red, or closer to yellow, I should say, I consider warm. There are cool yellows, though. So, I mean, like I said, you can make it super complicated. But anyway, yeah, that is, let's see, Teresa said, it makes me feel that stupid, but you need to learn it. You know, you don't, yeah, maybe I need to think just warm and cool. That is what I do. I just simplify it. Especially when I'm teaching other people, because my God, I'm telling you, some of these books I've read, I'm like, you are making sure someone never wants to paint again, because that is what your book is teaching, is this is so hard and you're never going to understand it because I'm wording it like it's in another language. I'm going to make sure you don't understand it. So you're going to go, well, then I must not be good at art. I give up. And I hate that. Like, I don't want people giving up over something. So I don't want to say unimportant, because again, color theory matters. Just simplify it. Just keep it to the basics as much as you can. I think works a lot better. So, and trust your taste. You've got to trust your taste. I've seen your taste, Lily. You have good taste in stuff. You choose good things. And again, there's always room to improve. But don't overcomplicate it to the point where you're not enjoying it anymore, or you get frustrated, because that will, well, makes you frustrated. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I've been rambling for way too long, and my back is very unhappy with me. So I'm done. I will see you next week. I'm not sure what next week's lesson is going to be. Feel free, those of you over on Patreon, if you want to shoot me a message, or you want to tag me, like, you know, at Lachri, in Discord or on Facebook. If you have suggestions, there have been a lot of suggestions, so I have been writing those down. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Harlow, oh, Kyle, that is your username, isn't it? Haven't talked to you in forever. You're alive. Kyle, I'll talk to you on Facebook, because I have not talked to you forever. But anyway, I think we are good. Let's see. Hey, Lisa, your future color theory book, Uncomplicate Your Color Theory Experience. You know, my future color theory book would be like 2 pages. Like, because I seriously, not even 2 pages, like well, I guess 2 pages like this. You'd open the book and that is it. Those pages are it. Here's some photo examples. Keep it simple. Like, yeah, and it's so hard because one of the problems with color theory too is the way that I simplify it, I will have somebody else over here going, no, oh, that's wrong because that color is technically this and that color is technically that. And it's like, why are you making it harder than it needs to be? So I just don't. Anyway, I've rambled enough. I am done. I'm done. I will see you guys next week. Next week will be on Patreon only, and it will be a full lesson. I've got suggestions from you guys. I've got to go back and look, but if you have more suggestions, leave them. It always depends on what photos I can find. And I will see you guys later. I don't even know where my buttons are. Where are my buttons? That's it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.